right, we're gonna go ahead and call to order.
This just started like half an hour.
Bless you. It is 5:33. Any public comments? Nope. Number 3 is approval of previous minutes from the regular meeting of December 4th, 2023. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes? Yep.
I can make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Aaron. Anybody want a second?
I'll say.
Okay, I have a second by Valerie to approve the minutes, which was just a presentation.
Nathan's not here. Okay, Anita Charlton,
Yes.
Valerie Duncan,
Here.
Daryl Covington,
Yes.
Aaron Rooney,
Yes.
and Mineka Gibbs.
Yes.
All right, 5-0.
All right, number 4, HPC application number 23-022, discussion and potential action on a request for certificate of compliance for removal of external material for assessment purposes within a prescribed time frame to return to the Historic Preservation Commission with a plan for restoration for a building located at 108 East Oklahoma. Staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The building is, as indicated, 108 East Oklahoma. It's the only one in East Oklahoma that has a green facade, a glass green facade. The applicant / owner is looking to redo the front facade to bring it back to more of a traditional look. Both the applicant as well as staff felt that it was probably in the best interest to even bring it to the commission at this point, so everybody's kind of on the same page and understanding. So when front facade starts to be taken away and that, everybody understands what's going on. Plus, it was an opportunity for the HPC to give some feedback to the applicant before they would submit their plans for approval. As was indicated in the introduction, the main reason they're doing it is they really don't know what's behind it at this point. As you saw with the pictures, and if you've seen the building, they took off a little bit of it to try to see what's there and under there. And again, they really need to take off the whole front to get an idea of what they'll need to do. Staff did provide some pictures. The best ones that staff could find date back to the 70s. The building to the west, the Oklahoma building, had a similar facade when it had the Dollar General stores and that, and then it was around 1982 that they got permission from HPC to redo the front to its current look, design, style, in that. So that was a look, if you want to say, that was more to the west. So now obviously we're dealing with the one building to hopefully get a probably more appropriate look for that building. The only thing staff had mentioned, just so we kind of keep on track, is if the commission may want to put some type of time frame to when to return, so we don't have a building facade that's kind of sitting out there with no time frames. Obviously, with the applicant here, that could be a point of discussion in that. So again, we kind of keep all on the same page to make sure we do get it back in a timely manner. So with that, I'll hand it back to the commission for any questions. If not, again, the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Can we have the applicant go ahead? Would you guys please come up to the stand, please? So, in removing portions of this panel, do you guys find that this was indeed Ventralite glass or not Ventralite glass?
It's we tried to take we thought it was vitrolite, so we contacted like a vitrolite specialist who restores old buildings, and he says it is indeed not. It is what came after. It's like steel plated with plastic on top.
When you look at the side profile, you can see a sliver of metal with
Yeah.
the coating on the outside. of it.
On either side.
Yeah, so it's not actually vitrolite.
Did he know the name of the product?
We're still researching.
He
Yeah, or do you know?
well, I mean, it would take me forever to find because I have Outlook,
Yeah,
but
we could
I
probably
can
get
report
that.
back.
Yeah. It's basically a replica vitrolite that was used after they stopped producing vitrolite to make it look
To
like
make it
it's
look like
vitrolite.
that.
Yeah.
Right, and it's supposedly like a sturdier product where like vitrolite, because we had taken down a panel, so he said, you know, how did you take it down? I'm surprised it didn't crack. And then when we showed him the back, he said for sure, not vitrolite.
Okay.
What's the green stuff on the brick? Is that paint or is that some kind of adhesive or something?
It's paint.
Yeah, it's paint. That's what we discovered once we removed it, and it's almost the exact same color.
Yeah,
as
they
all
liked
vitrolite.
green. It
Yeah.
makes me think that we won't stay with green, but
People in the 80s and stuff,
Oh,
paint and brick.
But I was thinking they might have painted it to match.
Well, see the top of
Mhm.
that building in that picture, it looks like it was white, but it could have actually, that whole building could have actually been that color at one time.
Right.
Is the old picture. I did go today and try to find additional pictures. I ran some time, I went to the abstract, pulled the abstract on it, just because you can find leases in there. And it's really hard when we don't have pictures throughout time and prior, really, before they started the preservation process in some late seventies and early eighties around here, to find actual pictures of buildings. And even in the 1800s, it's not a, really elaborate building. So every picture I looked through and tried to comb through and find, I kept thinking, well, this is literally the stepbrother, like I had mentioned before the meeting started, of the building, because it's not as elaborate as the two buildings on either side.
right.
So, and then if I could find a picture, there was some sort of awning that would block what its original front was. I did find that it was utilized as a grocery store, it was utilized as a salon, and then a hardware store. So, mentioned to thought that it went with this very original, front, that is probably gonna look more along the lines like the front of my building, or, that was rehabbed actually, because the building I'm in, at 122 West Oklahoma is a rehab because it was a burnout in 2008.
Okay.
So the front of my building is not actually original either. And it was actually redone as well. So,
Gotcha.
They can be redone to historic standards and to historic storefront representation, because it is a retail front.
Yes.
So keeping it as a retail front with retail specifications is going to be of the greatest concern.
We want to we'll keep the storefront. We entertained replacing the storefront with something else, but I think that we're going to end up keeping the storefront behind. We do know that there's transom windows, so we would like to replace those. It's that upper portion between
Yes.
the I-beam that we have no idea. Dan thinks it might be an
Entresol area.
Entresol. Austin thinks it might be a sign.
So if I may,
Yep.
this area right here, when you're up on the ladder and looking back behind the product, there looks to be some sort of a wooden inlay. You can see brick and then a depression where there's wood. So I'm thinking it's an old sign inlaid into it, but that's why we're here. We really don't know without just like.
Yeah,
keeping-
we gotta take more down.
Yeah.
But we do want to keep it, in line with downtown and, make it look nice. But
Well,
more-
excuse me, that band of masonry, you'll call it, is certainly not normal, laid in normal courses.
Right,
So something was going on across
right.
that area, different than the rest of
Yeah,
it.
it looks like they just stacked brick in there to be able to put the new surface
Yeah.
on top of it, basically. So it's still a mystery a little bit.
Because I would probably envision a storefront maybe similar to what they did with Mark's Drug when they redid it and added that door. Because obviously on the east side of the facade here is the door to the upstairs apartment, which will have to remain, but the rest would, probably be a couple windows with a doorway in the middle type of thing.
Well, there's also some issues with the way that Mark's Drug's facade was restored to as well. So,
Well, you gotta keep in mind that we're trying to meet compatibility, not to be exactly to the time of the, the building's existence. We're not trying to bring it back to what it was. We're trying to make compatibility, because the storefronts, as you indicated, for most of the buildings downtown, there's very few, if any, that have original storefronts anymore. And so it's trying to get compatibility within that district.
yes, but it still needs to be a retail. The retail windows that were
Oh, absolutely.
replaced
No,
within
absolutely.
Mark's
Commercial,
Drug
yeah.
are small.
Oh, I
So
got you.
those ones
Okay.
are
I got
not
you.
actually retail size is what I'm getting at.
I
It
got
was-
you. Okay.
We
Mark's
wanna-
Drug is not a representation as it was not, the plans were not completely done as they were specified when they were brought here. So that's what I'm getting at.
We would love to keep the large storefront windows. The initial plan is keep the storefront windows, restore the transom windows, repoint whatever brickwork needs to be repointed. And then perhaps maybe like add an awning, we're not really sure. We are gonna be working with an architect, and we have told him that we would like to, keep it in line with the historic nature of the community.
What are you gonna do about the painted brick?
Probably sandblast it back to its original color. And if that doesn't work, maybe a paint color that falls in line with the rest of like what we see, like a red, like a Wonderful or something. Although I would like to have the original brick.
I did remove, Aaron helped me, we did paint removal in the depot on the inside.
Good times.
Yeah, 15 feet of a whole wall of brick, and the problem there was, it would have been great had we been outside, because we use pressure water. But what you'd do is you'd put the stuff you can buy, and you smear it on like almost like a mud. You put that plastic on there, and in like 24 hours, you come back and it just scrapes right off. Problem is, it's real dirty and muggy, and it was just, the inside was the problem. We were outside, it would have been a lot easier. But that stuff comes right off back to the original. It just,
Well, I might be knocking on your door to ask,
yeah,
like what product you use.
yeah, it wasn't like insanely expensive or anything.
Well, I do believe this is the outside, and they were sandblasting the outside of the creamery. And we're-
Yeah.
Is that what
Okay.
they did?
Yeah, because that's what I was
They were
gonna
able to
say,
use
but
water.
again, the key is
Some of the
right,
ones
you
have
don't use any type of
product
chemical
approved.
application.
Approved
It
by
strictly
Park
has to be water,
Water.
so it's a little bit more, time consuming, but that's the only way to do it, because if you use anything that's chemically related, you really deteriorate the brick. That's why you're not even supposed to paint brick, because painting brick will deteriorate that brick over time. Which obviously, we have many buildings that have done that, so we can't get by that. but, yeah.
Sandblasting it in?
Yeah, the good news is when we remove the paneling, the masonry is in really good shape. I was shocked
Except between the items.
except
was gonna
between the
s-
I-beam area.
Right.
Yeah.
But and the paint is chipping a little bit, so we're hoping it'll be,
Yeah.
easier
an
than-
process.
yeah.
So, it is winter, and if you remove this, I know you guys are wanting to then get together a design, on the front, and it will have to come back here for approval as well. But removing it and then also being able to, the backside of that does not look like it's going to be weatherproof.
It's got, you can see behind the transom windows, they have just wood. And the inside of the space is pretty much gutted at this point, so that's okay with us. I wish that I could promise that we would be back next month, the beginning of the month with a plan, but I know it will probably be 2 months, because by the time we get approval and then take it down, you know what I mean? We'll probably be back early March, at the beginning of March with a plan. I'm hoping that the architect that we work with could whip something out, but, we can't guess. We've got to know what's underneath it.
Is there any structural concerns at all from what you've seen? Or is it just like,
Not on the inside,
No,
it actually
yeah.
looks great.
Yeah.
You're shocked.
There's the I-beam above, and then there's a full header that goes across, that you can see from the inside, so it's got two
Yeah,
full
okay.
supports in that storefront.
it's kind of something to know with like budget, it's like sometimes you start tearing stuff off and it's like,
Yeah.
how far do you really want to go?
That's when we started
Yes.
inside. We were trying
Yeah.
to get hints from the back,
Right.
but we needed the front.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we
Start out and go.
Yeah.
we
Work
found
your
out
way
with,
out.
Yeah, exactly.
with a lot of the storefronts, we found out that they're not structural in nature, that, as indicated, they have the I-beam above that takes all the structural, say, integrity of it. We had that with the Ring Rose building, even Mark's Drug, a lot of those, that's why they put that there. So the facade is really just brick and framing. It doesn't have a structural element to it, with most buildings like this one.
So even if you remove all of it, say next week, you won't be able to come back and rehab it probably until March.
Well, I assume that would be a more accurate timeline, just because if we get it down, you know, and then we give the architect a few weeks to gather some ideas and thoughts and present some things to us. Yeah, I mean, I assume. I know that it probably wouldn't be ready, I mean, cause you meet the first Monday, right, of every month, yeah. I mean, we could just take down another 1 or 2 strips if that would make you guys feel more comfortable, so that we can see what's on the one side. Obviously, it will be carried through the entirety of the facade. So we could do that. But yeah, we're already measuring transom windows for replacement, et cetera.
Valerie, thoughts?
What kind of time frame do you think? If you're given approval, then you start removing the facade, what hell long is it gonna take and to find out what's back there?
The day we remove it.
Yeah, the day we remove it, we'll know what's back there, and then the architects
Well,
can
do you
get to
have,
work.
do you have a schedule for that? For removal?
Well, we've retained an architect, and he's been on the inside, but again, he says that he can't give us, you know, we think we know what it will look like, but they're all so different, even just in the minute details, so.
We're currently performing the demolition, so I took the strips off the front
Sure.
of the building. So the day we get approval, we'll take it down, find out what it is, and then have the architect start working on a drawing to bring back to you guys.
Yeah, we wanna get it down ASAP, so that we know what the entirety of the budget will look like for
So
the
tomorrow?
project.
Tomorrow?
Yeah,
Wish.
essentially.
But if we put a 30-day or a 60-day timeline on there, one of those will fit your
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
schedule.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We should be able to come back with a plan. Definitely in 60 days. I mean, we could have it down and then he could be working on it, and I feel like it would be ready mid-next month, but then we wouldn't have another meeting until a few weeks after. So that's why I think the 60-day timeline is probably more appropriate, just being realistic.
Well, in all honesty, if this was the vitreous glass, then I would not be in favor of removing it. But since it is not, and you have a professional opinion to that, then I don't think I have any reservations.
Mine is only time reservation, and, you know, the length of time we wanna leave the storefront looking real bad.
Right now.
And the possibility of weather getting, you know, further into that, because right now it's great, right? So the inside looks great right now, but that's protecting it.
Yes.
So once you take that down and you have that untucked brick,
Yes.
Well, we have some products that, I forget what it's called because I'm going blank, but I have a thick plastic material that will hang behind there to prevent some of that weather stuff, especially as we see storms come along.
But that protects the inside.
Right.
So as far
That's
as
what
the
you're
out,
worried.
oh, I see. You're worried about the inside.
Yes, with the
Okay.
weather.
I'm more
And-
worried about like the falling brick. You know
Well-
what I mean? Like, if you look
when
at
you
like
take
wander.
it down, you'll definitely have to make sure that
Secure.
won't
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
And that one,
That
that one
cannot
area at the
happen.
top, as far as we can see, the one area at the top, the strip, is the only place that has loose brick.
Right.
The other
Yeah.
masonry looks intact. And as she pointed out earlier, from the inside, they have quite an elaborate level of layers that they attach to that product too. There's plywood, and then you can see that they made kind of a framing system, so they put slats of wood on top of
Oh,
the
there's
plywood,
utility.
and then they attached the product to that. So there's
Right.
a few layers actually protecting the inside of the building. I'm sure we'll discover some holes, but I don't think it's just gonna be wide open,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
So like if I look at the Wanderfolk building, it seems like they might have had some crumbling brick or something that they have then just gone through and covered up and then painted over to make it look like it's part of the facade. That's not our plan and that's not what we want, but if it comes down to it, that's something that the architect has recommended. So hopefully it won't come to that.
Okay. So, I mean, I would go with in my opinion, to approve removal, and to return within 60 days with a plan.
Yeah, because what I was gonna suggest is to, kind of no matter what, look for the first meeting in March, which would be close to the 60 days. And that way, even if they're still in process or not quite there, we can still have the discussions at that point as far as where they're at, or if we want to give them an extension or that type of thing. So we'll just look for the first meeting in March, which is about 60 days. That work?
Anyone else?
No, I'd just like to say that we're here to support you, you know.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank
we do,
you.
I do have this presentation brief on rehabbing up storefronts, and it does have some different variation of design front, that even though, you know, you may or may not looking to go back original, because we don't have original, but this gives you a really great guide.
Okay.
And it is from the Department of the Interior, so this
Awesome.
is super helpful for you guys.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, and the other thing, which basically is in line with that, is our design guidelines also talk with compatibility and that. So if you have questions on any of that, you can get with me in that. But that's one of the good, what do they call
it's
them?
almost like a how-to and
Yeah, what are those, gosh darn it, they're like not preservation
they're
notes,
preservation
but,
cliff notes.
yeah, that's kind of what they are.
They're briefs.
Briefs, thank you.
They
Thank you,
are, they're
Don.
briefs.
A lot
They're
of
briefs.
the best information you'll find is on the briefs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
It gets
there
to
a-
the point.
Is
Yeah.
there a specific architect that has done a good majority of these buildings? Because we have been working with somebody, but you know, if like Jeff Fry or something has been doing the majority of them, is there somebody specific that most people work with?
No, we really haven't had anybody local.
No,
Most,
but Katie's Diner did work with one that
Yeah, to
has a
Edmond.
background.
yeah, because there are some that you'll find in the city that have a background, because there are obviously more historic preservation projects in the city.
Yeah.
And that, there are some, but we don't particularly have one here in Guthrie that's really been a majority or anything. Yeah.
Ron Franz with the University of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, he's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
he
good
did
one.
the Victor Building in
Yeah.
the 80s.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Something like that. He's a really nice man.
Okay.
And he's still around.
And
Yes.
finding
OU.
one that has a lot of good background with historic preservation is really important.
Yes.
It is super helpful.
Yes. Yeah. We do want it to look nice and.
Our current architect has experience with historic revival, but it's mostly residential. So
Yeah.
we were looking for somebody who's maybe done this time
Right,
period.
that is,
Yeah.
yes.
And you can, if you want, come in and see me or contact me and
Okay.
probably give you a couple ideas as well, because I can give you the information on that other architect as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so just going back, there wasn't a motion or a second, but it was.
No, but we can go ahead and give a motion to
Okay.
approve demolition of the material in the front of their building.
Removal.
It is still the
I
same
hate the word
thing.
demolition. I know,
Yeah.
I hate demolition.
Okay. Removal of the tile on the front of the building, and to
Where's the-
report back with a plan of development and restoration,
Yes.
by the March 1st. I don't know what date that is.
I was gonna say, I'll look it up.
60 days or by,
March meeting is.
What's the first Monday? Let me get my calendar.
The 4th, March 4th.
March 4th.
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't want to be that guy, but are there any OSHA requirements to you guys taking that stuff down and having any protective stuff for sidewalk traffic?
We were gonna
That's
put
up
out
to Dan.
cones.
Dan
Okay.
can help them with that. That's
Well,
Dan's
well,
area of
okay.
expertise.
We were gonna put out cones and put plywood up if there was anything crumbling in the
Okay.
interim. So we
Yes.
have considered our pedestrians.
Yep. That's Dan's area of expertise, is the sidewalk.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's no injuries that happen during this
Yes.
process.
Please.
I sense there's a background to that comment, but.
Well, we were removing the first paneling during the Christmas celebration, or right after the Christmas celebration, and it was just bustling down there, so we had to like back people off
Yeah.
the sidewalk, you know,
Yeah.
just
We'll
for
have
the,
to put out some
Yeah.
cones.
So is there a
Okay,
motion?
so, a motion to approve removal of the tile on the front of the building and to report back by March 4th.
You make the motion?
Huh?
Okay, making sure. Second?
With a plan of development
Yep.
for the storefront rehab, yes. I need a second.
Second, Anita? All right.
Thank you all.
thank you.
Jason
We're
Wells?
excited.
Yes.
Anita Charlatan?
Yes.
Valerie Duncan?
Yes.
Darrell Covington,
Yes.
Aaron Rooney,
So what are you putting in?
and Maneka Gibbs.
Absolutely.
So
All
what
right,
are you
6
putting in
votes.
there?
It will be food service.
Oh, all right.
We're going to do sandwiches. I hope you guys like sandwiches.
I love sandwiches, and it'd be better if you could bring them to me. All right, so staff
I have none.
comments?
Thank you. I have none.
None? Commissioner comments?
All your favorite kinds, all
Okay.
the classics.
Is that it?
All right, I'm excited. Okay.
Oh, are they?
There are-
Thank you.